why don't you introduce yourself and your band?
Which camera am I? This camera here?
Right here.
Hey, I'm Jittery Jeff from the Capitalist Kids. Play bass and sing.
Awesome. And is this your first major tour, or have you been on other tours?
This one isn't a tour for us, really.
Yeah.
This is just like...
Well, tour is very loose for this.
Yeah. I mean, tours we've done. We've toured all over the States, Canada, Europe, just did the UK. This is more of just like 2 shows we're doing back-to-back, Dallas and Austin with MTX and the Queers.
So, what do you think makes this tour like special? As far as like the fan base, the fact that Mr.T Experience and the Queers have toured together, and how do you feel like you fit in there?
This is one of those surreal things where these are the bands that we grew up. These are the bands that like are the reason we exist.
Yeah.
Because the whole Lookout Records 90s pop punk thing is, as most people who have heard Capitalist Kids can tell, like that's kind of like our métier. So like being asked to open, we've opened for the Queers before, we've opened for MTX before, so it's not like the first time it's ever happened, but
it's not a surprise.
But it's cool that it's like, it's not just them coming through town and us being, you know, one of the local bands opening. It's actually like we're kind of just these 3 bands doing these shows. So like that feels kind of neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a little bit surreal to be on the same bill with like your songwriting heroes from childhood.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of validating that they kind of get what you do, at least, you know, musically or style-wise. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny with, like, the Mr.T Experience and us, because, like, I was so influenced by him and by Dr. Frank, and now, like, when Dr. Frank of Mr.T Experience hears my band, he's like, oh, I like these guys, and it's like, yeah, well, that's because we sound like you.
Yeah.
So, like, that's got to be a trippy thing to kind of hear your own influence, like, decades later in somebody else.
Makes their fan base so loyal after all this time, or like what's the appeal still?
I think it's just there are a ton of somewhat generic bands, for lack of a better word, in the genre of pop punk.
Yeah.
You have like a lot of kind of cookie cutter Ramones core bands, and there's only one like Dr. Frank band with like the sort of lyrics that he writes.
Yeah, for sure.
So for nerds like me who like really like responded to like the amount of clever things that he's doing in his lyrics and stuff, like you're going to be loyal because there's nothing else that really touches that. So that's, I think, just speaking for myself, that's where that
I mean, I feel the same, even though, you know, like maybe a little bit different perspective, but very much the same. It's like you're that loner or pined over something dumb or made stupid jokes with your friends, like you kind of get what they're talking about on a very different level.
Yeah, I mean, everybody responds to music for different reasons. Some people like kind of an abstract, poetic, lyrical vibe that creates an image or evokes, you know, like I'm kind of just like very cerebral, like, ooh, those words are cool, you know, like that.
I kind of like how like sometimes it's like a dumb joke you thought you maybe have with your friends, and it's kind of like some of the lyrical content, so, especially the Queers, but even in MTX like a little bit too. So it's like
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I thought this was only funny to me, maybe like a handful of people, but you're like, no, everybody actually thinks this is universally funny.
Yeah.
This is kind of the joy of it, I think, for myself. But
Totally.
I did get a fan question for the Capitalist Kids, and it said he wanted to know if you ever plan to reissue your first album, Current Events.
Oh my God. I thought this was going to be a great question because I thought they were going to say our first album, Too Big to Fail. And I was be like, oh my God, yes.
No,
after
they dug even deeper.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I don't want to be on record with this. I try to pretend those albums don't exist.
Apparently you have a fan of one, so maybe you can just send it to that person.
Well, it's not like an album per se that needs to be reissued. I guess I'll go ahead and say, but I really didn't want people to know about this. But
throw it up on a SoundCloud or a Bandcamp or something, maybe.
No, it's not going up on Bandcamp. But I know some of these things are out there because back in the days of like SoulSeek, I once caught somebody downloading it off my computer, and I was like, no. But like, Capitalist Kids have been a thing technically since like 2004, and when we were in Fort Worth, we put out like 3 different sort of little just like homemade the things that I recorded that we burned to CDR and made our own little DIY CDs. And I have tried to like just disavow like that ever happening just because the quality is not there. And once we moved to Austin around, once we started and we got Ron in the band on guitar around like 2008 and started making real recordings, that's when I like to, pretend that the band really started.
I was on an uptick at the very least. Yeah, and I mean, in the beginnings of bands, it's like, you do what you do with what you have, so I mean that's all you really can do, but hopefully you get better. So, and I'm pretty sure that's the same scenario here.
And it's funny because like I think you always have to believe that what you're doing is good, or you wouldn't be doing it, but you've got to be bad for a long time. And then one day you'll be like, oh, no, okay, now we're good, and then you look back and you're like, oh, maybe we weren't so good. But
you question it a little bit. No, I get it. So what's something that you would like to promote, like say if no one's ever heard your band, or somewhere they can check you out, or anything coming up?
If you've never heard Capitalist Kids, I would say just go to capitalistkkids.bandcamp.com. The most recent album, Brand Damage, is the one that like I stand behind the most, and there's still some copies of that vinyl available. Cool. Most of our older stuff is, well, some of it's sold out, some's not, or out of print rather, but and follow us on Instagram because they don't filter out all your shit like Facebook does. So at the Capitalist Kids on Instagram and Google us. That's a good way to follow you. Awesome. Well, thank you for talking about this tour with me. Anytime. Pleasure to be here.